I don't know, especially maybe in agile, is it even possible to be like just happy and content with one set of rules, and then we say, okay, like we know the formula, and let's just roll for the next 5 years. I think even every sprint is different, and let alone like a year or something.
Welcome, Milan. It's so great to have you on How They Test. Really looking forward to hearing about you and your team and how your team's approaching QA today. Maybe let's just get started today. Would you mind sharing a little bit more about your background, what company you're currently working for, how long you've been there, and what a typical day in the life looks like these days?
Sure. Hi. Yeah, nice to be here, Matthew. Thanks for inviting me. Yes, I'm Milan. I work at Sitli. I'm a QA lead here. I'm in the industry for about 10 years or so. Sorry about that. And yeah, in Sitli for about 2 years now. And Sitli is, you can look at it as a marketplace for parents and sitters to connect with each other. So there is each user, when they log in, they can search for other users, like them, message them, ping them. There are some reviews going on. And yeah, our goal is to provide this to help both sides find the job and the perfect match, so we can help with parenting and helping with kids. So that's the idea. And yeah, you asked also like what the date is. What's like a day in my work. So we have a couple of people in the QA team. So and we work in sprints. So we are always a part of this whole development life cycle. We're included also before and after. So the daily struggles are mostly like finishing the sprints and wrapping up all the tickets together, multiple projects at once. So you have to like juggle those. But at the end of every few weeks, we want to finish everything, release. So that's like the big picture.
In terms of your team's testing process, are y'all doing anything in particular around test strategy or tooling that's been new or helpful recently?
Yeah, well, we have defined test strategy early on, but it's we treat it as a document that's kind of in progress. We always try to edit stuff, and so we have some rules that we try to do. But as soon as some maybe requirements changes for the how we work, or like if maybe some new people join, then we have to tweak our process just a little bit, or if you learn some new information. So I wouldn't say that there is anything new that's a big thing, but we're always adjusting a little bit. But yeah, every now and then we introduce something new. So we introduce test-mo for test cases, some new ways of automated tests, and how we treat tickets in the sprint and bugs and so on.
You mentioned that you're actively working alongside developers during sprints. Walk us through a little bit, like, what does that collaboration look like? How does the QA team keep up with all the new features coming out during sprints? Do you have a flow in place, or is it just kind of like taking tickets as they come? What does that look like?
Yeah, that's one of the daily struggles. But no, we have a really nice relationship with our developers, which I think is a must. And yeah, we are thinking that the planning and refinement is a big part of work. So I would say that we even spend more time, let's say, on some particular ticket to plan it and refine it than we are like actually developing it. So with both developers and product owner and designers and other stakeholders. We refine it in detail. We try to write even test cases up front so they're ready when they come into development. And once all that is ready, when ticket is in development, or in the sprint, sorry, we only like do the easy part. We only just implement and test. And then if we run into problems there, then we did not do good job in the weeks prior. So that's the idea. So that's how we interact. We want that sprints are mostly like straightforward, but we have then a lot of thinking beforehand.
And does QA participate in that refinement process on new development, new features from the very beginning? Are you that far shifted left at this stage?
Yes, yes. Because one of the reasons is also I mentioned that we want to have written test cases up front, because then the developer can know what is it that the QA will test, or because we had a lot of situations where they don't know how we're going to approach the testing, and then we found some edge cases, and then they have to fix it. But if we think up front about it, and they have like a list of some test cases, they can already maybe know what to expect from us. So yeah, we are in refinements, and we want to also squeeze ourselves into some earlier stages of like a pre-refinement or some initial planning, just so we can also give our input. How hard it is, how much effort, is it easy, some specific tools or other approaches are needed.
That's awesome. I'm curious too, you mentioned part of the way that QA gets involved is actually starting to write test cases almost as soon as the user story is defined to help guide how developers are actually going to implement the case. It also sounds like that helps the developer keep in mind what's the actual user story, what's the way that the user is going to be interacting with that feature. Does it actually improve how the devs approach implementing the user story, the fact that you have those test cases up front, or is it really just related to the testing at the end of the day?
Well, that's not the tricky part. I mean, that is what we want to do, right? And I cannot say for individual persons, but I think it helps, of course. But it's up to the certain person to take to keep track of that. And also, we don't always manage to write these test cases. The like intention is there. Sometimes we don't have time, so we write it during the implementation. We write it even after if something is going not as planned. But we definitely try to write up front, and we're trying to have also some metrics for these bugs, and I think they show that we have at least maybe a little bit less of these bugs that are product of testing in sprint. So yeah, it kind of works, I would say, but I think there is still a more fine tuning to be done.
Sure, always
Always.
improving, right? That's the whole point of agile.
Yes.
um where does automation fit into this picture?
Yeah. So again, this is idea and goal that we are moving forward to. So if we have these test cases up front, and if we plan the ticket with automation in mind, then the developer who is also familiar with testing framework, they can also implement the test there. Or also we have I am also doing some automation, so I can also implement that as well. But because now maybe this is a different topic, but we have maybe a bit more developers than QAs, and we figured that it's better that developers focus on writing the tests, automating them, while we are then helping them navigate. So if you write test cases up front, if you monitor the executions, the developer will just write the code, but it's on us everything around that. So automation is there, and we are executing it. Just maybe we don't have QA automation engineers. Not all QAs are automation engineers.
Because you've actually worked with the development team to have them take on some of that accountability for the testing that you need to be building into the product to verify it's actually working as intended. Like, so they're taking on some of that actual test development on the automated side themselves as well, it sounds like.
Exactly, yes. And I mean, it was also a lot of planning before. Like, it wasn't just, okay, I woke up this morning and, hey guys, let's, you guys are going to write automated tests. I was a bit more planning and seeing if they're up to it, then introducing the tool. We use Playwright for UI tests. And I mean, that's mostly about these user stories. We use that. So there was some training needed. I mean, some collaboration together. So it was still like a process. But yeah, in the end, we all as a team are accountable for that. They're from implementation side and us from planning and designing side.
So it sounds like the process has been working pretty smoothly. You've got these different elements of testing. You write the test cases early in the sprint. You're collaborating closely with development. Developers are actually taking accountability for writing automated tests. Has it always worked this smoothly, or have there been any particular wins or successes in the last couple of years that you point to as like, yeah, that was a major breakthrough for us. We figured that part out, and it's made a huge difference for our QA process ever since.
Yeah, so as I maybe said at the beginning of the video, so it's like a work in progress, of course, and there is I wouldn't say there are like big breakthroughs. I think we have like maybe let's say a plan in sight, and then all these little things are just a piece of the puzzle. But whenever you're like close to the like getting that big breakthrough, that always moves for a bit more puzzle pieces again. But I mean, what definitely helped us is getting our regression testing in order when we introduced some regular cycles and release cycles. When we actually started getting more serious with automation, then, for example, what is now the next step? We are doing the code, not the code coverage, but the coverage as well, just to see how much of our application is actually covered with the test. So again, all these little bits I see as successes, and it's like multiple people involved. So it's always just flow. I don't see it as some spikes. Okay, we did this. It's more like ongoing.
That kind of continuous improvement methodology.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know, especially maybe in agile, is it even possible to be like just happy and content with one set of rules, and then we say, okay, like we know the formula, and let's just roll for the next 5 years. I think even every sprint is different, and let alone like a year or something.
Yeah. Well, that's also part of what keeps it interesting and motivating to want to keep trying to figure out how to make it a little bit better. So
Definitely.
there's something there for sure.
Yes, for sure.
Is your team getting pressure to start using AI in your development process, QA process? What is that looking like for you?
Yeah, so we do use it, but I would say maybe it's still some early stages. So we use it, I think, as most people are using it right now for some like a feedback with the tool to like help me generate this, and then, for example, test case, and then I review, I edit, and something like that, or with generating code. But I think there is more to it. For example, what is the something that new that we want to try is that to implement the MCP servers for different tools. So, for example, one of the flows would come to mind that if you have one a work management tool like Jira or something else, and then with some MCP server for it, we fetch, for example, the information about the ticket. Then AI does its magic, and then with MCP tool, MCP server for the other tool, for example, for Testmo or for Playwright, we generate test cases there. We generate maybe a skeleton for automated tests. So instead of us repeating these manual processes, we automate that part. So I see in that way that AI can help us be more efficient, because we still don't really believe and trust it that much to like just create test case for us, and then we are like, okay, that's it. I know it's still hallucinating, I think, a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it will continue to develop and become more reliable. But I think I also see your point there too. I mean, it's in a similar way that QAs have approached automation in general, right? Which is you don't trust automation with everything. You use it to automate the stuff that you can trust it to be able to verify, like the automatable tests, but it's still not representing an actual measure of quality. It's just sort of giving you that feedback. Yes, this button did that thing. It does take away some of those tedious manual things that prevent you from spending time on more value add activities, though, too. So it sounds like AI, you're kind of approaching in a somewhat similar way. How can we use this tool to make our workflow more efficient, to take care of some of the tedious rote work of just like getting information from one platform into another, or getting the structure started so that then we can go in and validate that this is actually where we want to go, make whatever tweaks are needed, and then actually and run from there without necessarily trusting it to do 100% of the work.
Exactly. I still think that the we as humans, we still need to at least make a final decision or a review at least all that work that machines are doing. Like even for that automation, it's I mean, that's at least my opinion, that it's just checking. It's checking if it's exactly this button is here or not, but it cannot do exploratory. I mean, maybe it can, but not as good, I think, as humans can. So in that sense, I still think uh, we need to do something else, some additional work, but that it can help us with these tedious tasks. I'm confident that it can.
Well, and I think the other point about it too is that you're not building a platform or an application for other machines to use. You're building a platform for other humans to use.
Exactly.
So at the end of the day, it's not about what the machine thinks. It's there needs to be some level of human quality assurance there, because at the end of the day, it's going to be other humans that are trying to use the platform. They're going to think of the random edge cases that machines aren't necessarily going to think of.
Yeah, that's the right way. I think, I mean, of course, you always think similarly, but when you put it like in one sentence, it makes sense. We make stuff for other humans, so it only makes sense that we spend our time on it and not only rely on what machines are producing. So makes sense.
Maybe just to come to a close of our conversation today, I'm curious, from all of the different continual process improvements your team's made over the last few years, or anything that you found particularly helpful in your day-to-day, any advice or tips that you would share for teams that are looking to follow a similar path on that continual process, little improvements every sprint to achieve a integrated QA workflow like your team has?
Well, I mean, maybe it's like cheesy or something, but I think the teamwork is the most important there. Like if you don't have like a nice team that's looking in the same direction, I think you will just find problems. So I think if the team is aligned on like the big picture, and then all these little steps, I think they're easier to do and even digest. But if other can jump in to help you or you can help them, I think that's the most important part. So, but I mean, there's always challenges for other tools for processes, but if the team is there, I think you can do it.
Awesome. Yeah, it is easy to get into the weeds on some of the techniques or the tooling. It can be easy to forget about that foundational part of actually shipping successful releases, which is having an aligned team from the get-go and throughout the process is actually so much more important than I think we give it credence for sometimes.
Yes, and also this like interaction between QAs and developers. There is always this like they're on like opposite sides, but like if you take it as a same side, then again much easier to move forward.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for making time to share some thoughts and share some experience from your team today, Milan. It's been great to have you on.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it as well.